Hello everybody, and welcome to another prediction video where today I'm going to be finishing up the AFC side of my predictions and going to be predicting the AFC East for the next season of the National Football League, and eventually I will get over to the NFC side of things and finish those four divisions, and then hopefully my predictions come true in the regular season. The first team I wanted to talk about we're going to jump right into it, is obviously the worst team in the division as of last year. The ones who don't know how to tank properly, and don't know how to win properly, and don't know how to lose properly, and win when they don't need to, and lose when they don't need to. So, the New York Jets. This team had, let's just be honest, an awful season last year. Be totally blunt, they had no notable receivers other than getting Jamison Crowder from the Washington football team. They got Sam Darnold in 2017. They have literally nobody else on that offense worth mentioning other than Mekhi Becton, who was their pretty good left tackle as a rookie. Other than that, they had nobody on the defensive side of the ball. They only had CJ Mosley. Again, they didn't really have anybody else of mention. Quinnen Williams, that's it. There was really nobody else. There's a bunch of younger players on the team, but the Jets are the Jets, and they didn't have anybody notable. They actually did start the season going 0-13, which isn't a good record in the NFL, and will most definitely not get you a playoff spot, and you will most likely be in one of the top 5 worst teams in the league. Except the Jets wanted to switch it around in week 15 and decide to win the next 2 of their last 3 games and finish with a 2-14 record. The Jets had an opportunity to get a new quarterback. They did not like Sam Darnold and they needed a new one, and they decided that they were going to tank for Trevor Lawrence, and it didn't work. They somehow, by winning those 2 games, Jacksonville had 1 win at the start of the season, and by winning those 2 games, Jacksonville had a 1-win advantage or 1-loss advantage over them, and by them losing in week 17, they got the first overall pick and they got Trevor Lawrence. So they had to sort of compromise and get Zach Wilson with the second overall pick, and it was a pretty unsurprising pick, as Zach Wilson was the second best player in the draft, and they picked him at second place. So they did do that, and now they got a new starting quarterback. They traded off Sam Darnold to the Carolina Panthers for, I think, a 3rd and a 5th, or 3rd and a 7th, 5th and a 7th, I'm not sure. They got him for some couple draft picks, nothing notable. And they now have a new quarterback in town. Got also a new lineman, Elijah Vera Tucker, a 2nd round selection, and now they have a new line. They still need their center, right guard, and right tackle, but they've got a left tackle and left guard. Their receivers, Denzel Mims is going to hopefully develop for them, and they need to improve. They got Elijah Moore with one of their draft picks to get a young wide receiving core. On their defensive side of the ball, I don't remember them getting anybody notable whatsoever in the draft. Hopefully whoever they got has to step up, because that defense was absolutely abhorrent. My prediction for them is to probably go 2-15. I think they're going to go exactly the same win total as last year, and they're going to lose 1 extra game. You're probably wondering why. They have a new quarterback, they've got a new left guard, they've got a new receiver, they've got all this new stuff. What I'm thinking is that it's the Jets. They're in a tough division with the Bills, Dolphins, and Patriots getting back up there again. They've got to play the NFC South, if I'm not mistaken, and it's pretty stressful. They've got the Bucks in that division, the Saints, the Panthers, even though they don't have Teddy Bridgewater, they got Sam Darnold, but still, it's the Panthers. That division is still pretty competent, even with the Falcons. So you've got a pretty tough schedule, and I think they're going to lose 15 games, win 2, and finish with a 2-15 record and finish last in the AFC East, obviously not making a playoff spot. The third team I want to talk about is the team that finished third in the division, the team that had a dynasty that lasted almost 2 decades, or about 2 decades, and the ageless wonder for most of his career, Tom Brady. The Patriots had a very, very shocking season last year, finishing 7-9, and they were average to below average. It was the first time that they didn't make the playoffs since 2008, and they were pretty bad. They were losing to they were in close games with terrible teams like the Jets. They were losing to some weird teams, and this team had a problem. QB Tom Brady had left in free agency to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they got a prize, or a very, 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 very smaller prize in Cam Newton. He did not perform. He was very inaccurate with his throws, but he's still something that they're going to use. They're still going to use him again, use him as his quarterback. Their receiving core is below terrible. They have absolutely nobody of notable mention except their receiver N'Keal Harry, who requested a trade this week. Their O-line has been really solid this entire time that Tom Brady was there, and even now. So they've got plenty of O-line talent there with acquiring Trent Brown from the Raiders. Their new tight ends are Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. I don't understand for getting 2 tight ends when, unless you're playing a lot of 2 tight end sets, it's not going to work out, and you're just going to play 1 and 1 and 1. Just a little bit problematic. Their defense, they acquired some players like Matthew Judon that'll hopefully help that defense. Players like Dante Hightower are going to come back, and they're going to hopefully do something. Unfortunately, Julian Edelman retired for them, so they won't have Julian Edelman playing again. Devin McCourty is an average free safety. He didn't play a lot last year, but when he did, he was not that bad. Stephon Gilmore, by far one of the best cornerbacks, if not the best cornerback in the draft, is on that team. So they've got plenty of talent there in their secondary. Other than those 2 parts of their team, they have really nothing else on their team that's worth mentioning. They're just pretty good players. They've got a pretty solid team, but again, they've got the Dolphins, who are just getting better. The Bills, who are by far the best team in the AFC East. So I think they will finish third once again, and they will have a 9-8 record and finish third in the AFC East. I don't think that the Patriots are going to be a playoff team. They're going to be really close. They're going to be in the hunt like last year, but I don't think they're going to be that close again. They did draft Mac Jones with their 15th overall pick, and now they can develop him and hopefully get him into their lineup and start him in 1 or 2 years, and he'll be their quarterback for the future. The third team I want to talk about is the Miami Dolphins. They finished second in the AFC East, eliminating their division rival Patriots from playoff contention in week 15, and they were able to just come so close to the playoffs with their rookie quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, and they were so close to making the playoffs as a team that was expected to have 4 or 5 wins this season. They were a team that was just really awful in the start of the season and turned it around really quickly. They were able to win games against tough teams. They were able to win in close games like against the Raiders. They were able to beat teams that were surprisingly good but just flopped, like the 49ers, the Cardinals, the Rams, except us. Their team is really young. They do have some older pieces like in their wide receiver core, with having Devontae Parker getting up there in age. Other than that, their offense is really good. They do have a problem at their linemen though. Their left side of the offensive line isn't that good. Their right side is also not that good. They need an offensive line rehaul and fix it up completely. Their defense, on the other hand, has also not really any notable names. Their D-line is just average. Their secondary is full of pretty good players like Xavier Howard and Byron Jones. Their linebacking core used to have Kyle Van Noy after acquiring from the Patriots, and then he decides to go back to the Patriots the year after. So they don't have him anymore. So I think that this team just needs D-line, linebacker, and O-line, and they can be really, really good. I think that they are a team that can make the playoffs. I think they can do better than their New England Patriots counterpart because they have a younger team that has experience being in the playoff hunt. And yes, the Patriots were winning Super Bowls for a long time, and they got still a lot of people who did win Super Bowls with them. But I think that, just with Cam Newton having that Super Bowl experience from 6 years ago and him not being that good and being on the decline a bit, I think that the Dolphins will do a little bit better than them, and they will finish with a 10-7 record. They will finish one game ahead of the Patriots, and they will finish second in the AFC East. The final team, you already know who it is, the Buffalo Bills, who finished first in the AFC East last year with a 13-3 record and absolutely destroying teams that are really good and destroying their division rivals in the Dolphins, Jets, and Patriots, actually going undefeated against them in their division, which is something that most teams don't usually do. They usually lose one game to their division rival, and it's usually an upset. This team played spectacular. They were able to win against tough teams like my Seattle Seahawks. They did unfortunately lose to the Cardinals in a Hail Mary, and it didn't stop there with them losing another Hail Mary to the Chargers, which didn't result in anything. But this team was super, super, super hot. They were on a win streak to end the season. They came into the playoffs in the wild card game, almost lost to the Colts, but won for the first time in over 20 years, if I'm not mistaken. And then going into the divisional round, beating the Ravens in a night game where Lamar Jackson and that Baltimore offense was just running the ball over them. They did miss several kicks that did cost them the game, but the Bills were able to win that game. And then in the championship game against the Chiefs, they were unfortunately unable to win against the hot Chiefs, who were 15-1 or 14-2 technically, because they did lose in week 17. They were so good up until that point, and they're a team that will most definitely keep improving. They're a team that will most definitely keep their playoff hopes alive. They will definitely make the playoffs this year. I think they're going to go first in the AFC East, and I think they will finish with a 14-3 record. Yes, a lot of teams, I said in my last video, will be finishing 14-3, 13-4, 12-5. I think that's how it's going to go. There's going to be a lot of really, really good teams going into the playoffs, and I think it'll most likely depend on how those teams do, and it'll show who's the better 13-4 or 12-5 team in the NFL. Yeah, that is my prediction for the AFC East. So first in the AFC East is the Buffalo Bills, finishing 14-3. Second is the Miami Dolphins, finishing second in the AFC East with a 10-7 record. Third is the New England Patriots, finishing with a 9-8 record. And fourth is the New York Jets, finishing with a 2-15 record. You're probably wondering, how are they going to have the same record as last year for the Jets? But it's just what I think. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe if you want. As of last night, my Leafs reaction video for that Game 7 that happened almost 2 months ago has reached 1,000 views. That's really, really good, and I thank every single one of the people who watched it out of the 1,019 that I saw on that screen. Hopefully, if you watched it like 5 times or watched it 10 times or just watched it once for like 1 second, really appreciate that. And hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I will be making a very interesting one in the next couple days. I want to try something new, and hopefully you're going to enjoy that. And then I've got a little bit of another surprise one that I want to try. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. As I said earlier, like and subscribe if you want. Voice crack, like and subscribe if you want, and I will see you in the next one. That's about it. See ya.